and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta at the Bharti headquarters in Delhi. And who's my guest today? But India's most prominent African, Sunil Bharti Mittal. Welcome to Walk the Talk.
Thank you, sir.
Wonderful to have you as an honorary African. Just a week after we had President Zuma of South Africa.
I'm delighted that we are finally there in the continent of hope. I believe the next decade is going to belong to Africa.
What gives you that confidence? There is trouble even in South Africa. I mean, you look at any international publication, news is all about troubles in South Africa and the confusion and the poverty and the misgovernance. Sometimes it looks like a story in India.
Well, if you look at how the world is moving, the US, Europe, and other more advanced economies of the world are shrinking, or if not shrinking, they are at best on a standstill mode. India and China are really driving. Where will this move next? Africa as a continent is the next continent, and that's where the activity has started. People are investing today in the basic raw materials, but eventually processing of materials, factories, services, it all build out. Imagine Africa as India was 15, 20 years back, and I really sense that opportunity.
India with natural resources.
With natural resources. But they have it, and it's going there.
It's going there. When did you get focused on Africa? You did get focused on Africa at some point. Was it just MTN, or was it some kind of philosophical discovery of Africa?
Well, I think we very early on realized that if we ever have to go out of India, it's not going to be Europe or the US, it's going to be Africa or the emerging world. So in 1997, I spent my 40th birthday in Botswana, bidding for a license, which we lost to some other bidders. And then we got Seychelles in 98. And then, of course, we tried the famous MTN-1 and MTN-2, which never went through. And now Zain.
So was Zain always at the back of your mind, or did it happen later?
No, I would say Zain came to us in 1995 in the form of Celtel,
right,
which was acquired by the Kuwaiti company called Zain. We lost that bid in 2005. So it was on our radar screen, but not available. MTN became available. We went for it twice. But to be honest, it was a compromise. No Airtel brand, no management control, just board influence, and but the largest trophy. Here we have the second trophy, but full control, Indian brand, and more importantly, injection of Indian model into Africa.
That's the whole point. Going in for MTN with so many compromises.
There were compromises.
Were you also driven by a compulsion to acquire something overseas, because everybody seemed to be doing it? So just as I used the expression Izzat ka sawal earlier, shall I use the expression bhed chal? Because 4 or 5 of top Indian corporates, your peers had done it or were in the process of doing it. So how can a Punjabi be left behind?
No, I think what was driving us was we had to diversify. We are the leaders in telecom in India. Unfortunately, the regulation has been unfolding in a very, very negative way for the established players in India. The company is strong today to diversify. It was important for us to add one more large piece outside India. So for our shareholders, there's a diversification of risk in telecommunications.
And it's an entrepreneurial risk, because you've taken debt which you never did.
This is true. I mean,
what kind of debt?
Oh, it's a very large debt. We have taken a $9 billion debt. Company which is generally loath to taking any debt.
So conservative, yes.
Very conservative. In fact, we had cash on our books when we did this deal, and now we have debt. But the good news is we struck, because of our strength of balance sheet, a debt deal with banks at 2.5% of interest rate, which means for $200 million of interest per year, we have secured Africa. I mean, that's a big, I would say, headlines here. While the debt is $9 or $10 billion, the outflow is very small.
It's a very finely cut ticket.
Yes, I mean, in fact, we were fortunate to have done it.
But tell me, how does it feel? I know that, you are a big tycoon now, but deep inside you have a middle-class mind.
Which is true.
And a middle-class Indian doesn't sleep well with debt on his head.
I would say you are absolutely right. So it took me a long time to get used to leveraging to this extent to do a deal outside. We will not keep our debt too much for too long. And I don't like to have too much debt on our head. We have plans to mitigate this. This debt will come down over the next few years, whether it comes through the process of internal accruals or selling of equity in the tower company or in the main company. These decisions will happen over a period of time.
So you might sell some assets in your other companies or wherever to...
No, telecom remains in the telecom vertical because we don't have like other groups cross-holding. The same company doesn't have retail and insurance. It's separate vertical. So telecom piece is very kosher. But within telecom, there is a tower company. There are stock that we can sell off the main company. And we will explore all these opportunities. But currently, if you look at our debt to equity ratio, it's comfortable.
But this is an entrepreneurial leap of faith. You know, you've gone and embraced something with the risk, given the environment in India, that you could lose it all.
Well, you know, in telecom, you never lose it all because a bad job done will get you your money back. A good job done will transform this company into truly a world-class telecom company. If you look in India, there were companies like Spice, Escotel, even those companies which are down in the dumps finally got sold for huge premiums.
Right.
You have in India, you've seen licenses being sold.
In fact, most of those promoters are walking around with checkbooks, hoping to buy up other assets.
So I don't think so. There's a risk here. You see, it's 15 countries. So it's again diversified risk within Africa. Some very large countries, some very small countries. But the good news is Zain is #1 in 10 countries, #2 in 4 countries, and only struggling in 1 country.
You talked about regulatory scenario deteriorating in India for existing companies. To an idiot like me, tell me what exactly is this? Because when I see a telecom story now, I turn the page. Because 3G, 2G, 5G, 4G, I can't understand what's going on. I know there's a shadow of Mr. Raja in the background somewhere. I see many usual suspects, but I understand nothing.
Well, I think, you know, in the garb of having more players and more competition, we have been pushed to the wall. And it's very hard for us to come
We are in Bharti or all Indian operators?
I think all established players, people who have been serving this country for the last 15 years, providing telephony like nobody else in the world has provided. We can't say don't give new licenses,
right,
because that looks like we are trying to protect our turf,
right,
and we have never done that.
Right.
Bring competition, we'll fight everybody in the marketplace as we have been doing for the last 15 years, but do it on level terms. Do it on terms which are fair to all. Spectrum is given in ration. I run 135 million customers here with such a small slice of spectrum, and there are people who have spectrum who have 5 million customers or 2 million customers. So there's no, you know, equity in that. Second part is charges of spectrum. Now the proposal is charge more to those who are established, who are bigger. I can't run with too much weight around my neck. I mean, I'm a better horse in running in the marketplace, and I can take some extra weight around my neck. But I can't take a rock in my neck and run in the marketplace. And that's precisely what the regulation is trying to do. The regulation is being geared towards hurting the large players, that they must pay more, but people who have got licenses yesterday must pay nothing. I'm happy if the country decides to have punitive regime for telecom, but then let it be punitive for all.
How does that work?
I mean, if you want to charge a lot of money, look at 3G, for example. Or today, just now, the broadband.
How does a punitive regime work?
Today, look at 3G, it's punitive. The prices that we are all paying for 3G spectrum is atrociously high. This will result in high broadband...
Extortionist.
Yeah, but you can't blame the government because they are saying you guys bid for it. Now, our answer to that is when you create a scarcity, and when you have 22 circles in India and the whole bidding keeps on going until the last circle closes, you don't have a choice. It's a defective proposition. So you have only 3 slots. There are 10 buyers. Now, but it's expensive, but it's equally punitive for all. If I paid more, somebody else has also paid more. I will deal with that in the marketplace. So that's my,
And you think ultimately the consumer will have to pay?
There's no question. I mean, if India wants cheaper broadband, that opportunity has been bypassed. Unfortunately, I think in India, we have had too much of controversy in allocation of spectrum, and it is always open to abuse. So auction is the right way to go forward. To that extent, I must congratulate the government that they have gone through an auction.
It's still better than in discretionary allocation.
Yeah, I would go for auction. The only question is the design and the quantity given.
Auction happens even in discretionary allocation, except the finance minister doesn't get the money.
No, but in telecom, therefore, there's a good outcome which can be celebrated, that we have moved away from discretionary allotment of spectrum into auction. So I think that's good news. Let's not underestimate that. All I'm saying is the pricing has gone too high. You can blame partly it on the industry, partly it on the design of the auction process. I think we should have had some middle ground, but I think lessons will be learned, and we will correct this as we go forward. But auction is the right way to go.
Since our last conversation, Sunil, I was going over the text of our last conversation in your college in Ludhiana. You said telecom is now on autopilot. Farming is the next frontier. Have we nuanced that over the past 3 years? Because you've discovered a new frontier in telecom. In fact, two new frontiers, new technologies in India, sort of spectrum jump, and Africa. And farming is sort of stalling a little bit.
Yeah, I think I would tend to concede on that point. We still believe operations of telecom is an autopilot. However, the regulation needs to be dealt with, and certainly you are faced with a barrage of regulatory recommendations which have, to my mind, the potential of crippling this industry. So one has to be vigilant, agile, talk to the right people, highlight the inconsistencies. So there's work to be done. On farming, I think the things have not come out the way as we thought it would. There's an absence of cold chain. If you have...
Still?
Oh, there is no cold chain.
Is there a willingness to fix it?
No, it cannot be fixed unless and until you have the whole vision in place.
Right.
Now, tell me, I mean, we have done a fantastic farm in Punjab, which the Prime Minister inaugurated. That is a small success story that we have. We are now exporting 3 tons of baby corn to UK every day. Every day we are putting out, 3 tons, and it's going every day. That's a big success story. We have taken a position against Thailand. This country is now exporting corn. But that's it, really. I mean, we could not do anything more because the cold chain is absent. So when you grow something which can either be sold in the marketplace here or exported, you need a cold chain. I can probably invest in cold chain, spend billions of dollars, but when at the end of the truck, which is a refrigerated truck, when it comes to the last point, where does it go? Into the sabzi mandi? Why would I put cold chain, or why would anybody put a cold chain if the vegetable or fruits will end up being in the sabzi mandi?
So you should be able to put it in large stores.
Yes, you have to have stores. That piece is missing, and that's where the debate should happen. FDI in modern retail is absolutely essential for us to get the agriculture produce onto the tables of
But does it need FDI? I mean, all of you guys have deep pockets. You can raise money. Why do you need FDI? I mean,
yes and no. I mean, there are...
I want FDI, but I'm asking this question.
Let's say we have to raise money. I mean,
Right.
let me put it like this. Raising of money wherever it comes from. It will not come from India because there is a gestation period of losses for several years. So you will not be able to raise money on the stock markets. You will not be able to raise money from local banks. People who understand this game and who are willing to be there for the long haul, like the retailers of the world, they will put the money in. So FDI is not necessary, but it's one of the large source of monies that can come into this area.
You've gone through rough times last 3 years as well. Competitive environment, corporate skullduggery, covert operations, all kinds of things. Take us through some of your difficult moments. Were there moments when you were angry, frustrated? You said, what the hell?
I don't easily get angry, but it'd be wrong for me to say they were not frustrations. One has seen how the last round of licenses were issued. One has been a bystander because you can do very much. You have seen what has happened after that, how many people have rolled out their services, how has the customer benefited.
Did you wish you were better at, you had practiced running up a staircase earlier on?
I was never good with it. I think there's something, either you have it or you don't have it.
So you actually literally had to do it at that point.
True. But my view is that if you're running businesses, frustrations will always be part of life. You have to deal with it. But I have a deep inner calm, and I move on. And
share with us some of your deep, most difficult moments when you said, how can this happen?
I think if you look at right now the current recommendations which are on the table, should they get accepted, to my mind, we would have written off the chapter of telecom in India. So there's the frustration. And there's a hope. So that's why I'm saying I remain calm, that at the end of the day, this country has a process that if there is a deep angst or frustration, it gets sorted out. Somebody will look into it. I still have hope that we have people who will look into this.
Do you see yourself as a collateral beneficiary of the brothers patch up in Reliance, the two sides of Reliance?
No,
were you caught up in the crossfire, or did you suffer collateral damage?
No, but if you look at it, when we were in telecommunications, Reliance launched itself. Both the business sides of the family were together. Then they were separate. One of the parts had the telecom. We competed with them. So my view is that you will see probably Mukesh at some stage getting into telecommunications.
You do see that?
Yes.
What makes you think that?
No, I'm just saying it will be a very strong possibility. He's always had a deep desire to do something in the area of broadband and connectivity. So you may see him in that space.
So that's more competition to look at.
I'm saying competition we should not worry about. We are ourselves a product of...
Discretion you worry about.
Yes, we do. We are a product of competition. If the government of India would not have allowed competition in our space, we would have never been here today. So competition must be welcomed. All we are saying is the rules of the game have to be the same for everybody.
You've known both the Ambani brothers. Tell me, what do you find interesting about each one of them? I'm not saying good or bad. I'm saying interesting. Come, I think that's a good moment to seek a cup of coffee.
Well, I would say, both have their own unique ways of delivering stakeholder value, and I think both are very successful in their businesses. I wouldn't say that I am heavily or regularly in touch with them, but I admire what Mukesh has done and his vision and what he wants to do internationally. And his skills of execution are, I would say, unparalleled. I mean, I'm always amazed, including in the telecommunications. When he came in, the way he organized his telecom business was quite breathtaking. So one has to give him credit.
Are you talking him into coming to Africa as well?
I think all business houses will follow this large move in Africa. Shelters, towers, air conditioners, generators, IT companies, value-added services is a given. They will all be coming.
Petroleum and natural gas.
Yeah. So, I'm saying these are coming with us.
Right.
Now, there's gas, there's oil, and there is minerals and metals. I would see that this will give strength to many business houses. And I'm already seeing a buzz in chambers, CII, FICCI.
So, Sunil, one more thing we talked about last time was when I asked you that does public life figure somewhere in your plans? And you explained the degree of difficulty. But then I said, are you saying you'll never do it? And you said you never say never.
You remember that?
Where has our thought process evolved since then? Because, we have the example of Nandan Nilekani.
I think Nandan's doing a brilliant job.
Because you can do something without being in politics.
I know. I think he has shown a way for many of us who desire to be in public life and yet have probably decided not to cross the line and be in full-time politics. And I think, if you're in business, you can't cross that line. I mean, I'm very clear. You cannot straddle both sides, and therefore, one has chosen to carry on from where one is. But I do a lot of stuff in public life through my participation in Bharti Foundation, Carnegie Endowment, and I was the CII president.
The only Indian in Barron's 25.
But no, I will carry on doing what I'm doing best in running transformational projects. To the last question, will it be never? Who knows? But at 52, nothing has changed from when I was 49, when we met last on this show. So I would say, let's see, I have now a job to do. Next few years are going to be very intense, very busy, new technologies, and Africa.
You've learned some lessons the hard way in dealing with the public life aspect of running a business or the political life, where even one casual statement can chase you for a very long time. I'm referring to that so-called statement of Narendra Modi. Tell us more about it.
No, I think...
maybe it's an opportunity to put that in perspective.
No, all I would say is I was there on behalf of CII, and I had to, talk about his administrative capabilities and the state's economic activity that was shaping up. As you know, it was an event where a lot of industrialists were coming in to talk about their projects. So from my point of view, I was talking about the administrative capabilities and the opportunities that are available to businesses in Gujarat. It was nothing more, nothing less. Now, you are in the media. I probably feel you got an opportunity that got played up. But it was as simple as a CII nominee there on the stage to talk about the environment.
And frankly, it's a job
activity.
it's a job of the CII to go and praise, to look at the good things various governments are doing, say good things about them. It's also a bit of a diplomatic responsibility.
No, I personally believe that on stage, hundreds of people were talking about how they will invest in Gujarat, how good they find the Gujarat environment to be. But it has to be taken no influence on the political hue of that. It is purely an economic business conference where we are talking about his administrative capabilities of providing businesses a better platform to build their businesses. That was all. I mean, there was nothing more than that.
So you were not taking any position on his politics, on his ideology, on his
There was no
philosophy?
question. I mean, there was no question. In fact, all I would say is, I mean, my investment in Gujarat, other than what we do as telecom company, I don't have any projects there. I don't have any factories there. So my position was as a CI nominee to talk about economic environment, which I will do in Karnataka.
Very surprised by the implications it acquired.
No, I mean, for me, when I looked at the television and the way where it took that statement to, it was distressing because that was not that conference was about. And I think you were all coming into election fever. It was election time. And I thought it became quite enjoyable from the media point of view to share it with the audience and talk about it. Well, I left it that I didn't even issue a clarification because when I went back to look at my statement, I was surprised why.
It's the first time I'm glad we are talking about this. But maybe it was necessary to set the record straight.
Yeah. So from my point of view, I'll do it in Karnataka, I'll do it in Punjab as an industry player or a CI nominee to endorse the state's positive position. I do it in Bihar, I've done it there.
Sunil, if I can take out a bet, I think over the next couple of years we'll be doing it a lot in Africa. And I think through you, we'll learn a lot more about Africa because this may actually open up Africa to so many of us Indians who, for whom also that's a lost continent. So all the best to you and for an African journey. May you keep growing there and growing here.
Thank you.
And maybe have one more conversation 3 years from now.
Thank you, sir.
Or maybe even earlier.
Thanks. Thank you.